We are now recording. I always find the variety of Zoom buttons challenging, and I can't wait for in-person events, so I don't need a button to start anything. I'd like to start off with just a few remarks. So for those of you who don't know, Manufacture San Jose actually launched nearly exactly 4 years ago in April of 2018 as a partnership between SFMade in San Francisco and the city of San Jose. After growing to impact the 600 or so manufacturers that SFMade has engaged with over its history, the city of San Jose, the mayor's office, and the Office of Economic Development asked for our help to assist San Jose's manufacturers to start, stay, and grow in San Jose. So why San Jose? San Jose is the largest manufacturing hub in Northern California, with approximately 1,200 manufacturers employing more than 50,000 San Jose residents. Manufacturing is truly the lifeblood of San Jose's economic health, and it made the most sense for us to jump in and help where we could. When I started with Manufacture San Jose in June of 2018, I was given a list of 20 manufacturers at that time that the Office of Economic Development had earmarked as being in most need of assistance. And since then, we have worked with over 100 manufacturers on a variety of topics, from operational efficiency and real estate assistance to workforce development and hiring. In fact, in every meeting I've had with our manufacturers, they've expressed that their biggest needs are developing greater connections within their community, with the city itself, and finding a strong talent pool to hire from. So to address these needs, we took over running the Silicon Valley Manufacturing Roundtable from the city back in July of 2018. The Roundtable, for those of you who are joining for the first time, is a quarterly event that brings together manufacturers and a variety of key stakeholders to address issues that affect manufacturers of all sizes and sectors from San Jose and the greater South Bay. Also, just prior to the pandemic, we hosted the first State of Local Manufacturing event in the city's history, with approximately 200 stakeholders from all over the Bay Area. As in-person events return to normal, I look forward to holding the next event soon. Speaking of the pandemic, at the onset of the pandemic, Manufacture San Jose quickly moved to stay ahead of pertinent information in what was initially a rapidly evolving landscape during the first stage of the pandemic. We helped our partner manufacturers negotiate reduced leases with their landlords, directed and advised companies on finding access to new capital. In one case, actually helps a local whiskey distillery find a sales channel for their hand sanitizer to first responders across San Jose, Santa Clara County, and South Bay. We also advise companies on finding access to new capital, including EIDL and PPP, among others, and provided our companies with the informational resources they needed to ensure that they were operating first and foremost with the health and safety of their employees in mind. We then, in partnership with the city of San Jose, shifted our focus towards economic recovery. Nearly a year ago, or almost exactly a year ago, we were awarded funding through the EDA grant in partnership with the Office of Economic Development to assist manufacturers and communities that were most impacted by the pandemic. This effort has been driven by Phil Lonsdale, our program manager, who's also here this morning. Welcome, Phil. Phil has been going door to door in these communities to ensure that they're connected to any resources they may possibly require. And based on his own experience and his engagement with companies, Phil has recently developed a sustainability program that will help our companies develop environmental and social impact strategies and give them the tools to measure the effectiveness of these efforts over time. To drive efforts to expand our capacity for workforce and hiring in these areas, we are in the process of hiring a workforce and youth programs manager in San Jose. If you know of anyone is interested in that, please check out our job board at mfgsj.org/jobs. To address the hiring needs of the companies we work with, we launched our job board in January of 2019 to connect the open positions at our manufacturers with job seekers from the nearly 100 workforce partners that we're engaged with from across San Jose and Santa Clara County. Since then, we have expanded our workforce programming in San Jose to include highlighting pathways to better paying jobs and entrepreneurship through our Inside Manufacturing program. And we have partnered with San Jose Works to provide high school interns to our manufacturing partners. In October of 2019, we also partnered with NextFlex and the San Jose Chamber of Commerce to provide factory tours to nearly 600 students from local high schools and community colleges during Manufacturing Week. We have also assisted those who face previous barriers to employment to find jobs at our manufacturers. Since our inception, we have, in partnership with the San Jose Public Library, run quarterly careers in manufacturing workshops to directly engage with those who assist job seekers to find better paying jobs. We have coordinated with organizations like Work to Future to hold hiring fairs for companies looking to grow their workforce in San Jose. And in October of 2021, we launched our CNC operator training program in partnership with Metro Ed and Goodwill of Silicon Valley. This program trains Goodwill clients, many of whom were previously incarcerated, to become machine operators for fabrication machine shops across San Jose. This program's curriculum was developed based on multiple meetings with manufacturers as large as Northrop Grumman and as small as the variety of 5-person machine shops in San Jose. This year, we are expanding the program to 3 cohorts with an additional 3 cohorts next year. We are, at our core, a relationship-driven enterprise. Our goal over the coming years is to deepen our existing relationships with the variety of stakeholders like yourselves and our manufacturers and foster new relationships with aligned partners. Bringing greater visibility to our work will be a key component to our overall growth. As much as KPIs are the measure of our success, we could not have achieved all we have without the relationships we've developed. And with that, it is my pleasure to welcome Sharon Wu, CEO of Peak Technologies, Hiver van Geenhoven from Chromatic Coffee, and George Cologne from SFMade and Manufacture San Jose. Welcome all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, as I had mentioned, the focus of today's roundtable is going to be on employee retention strategies that our companies have developed, and how we can also learn from those strategies together. So, starting with Sharon, tell us about your background. How did you get into the industry, and how long have your company been in business, and what's the size in terms of revenue and staff?
So I have, this is my 23rd year in business, March, 23 years exactly. And it actually was my father's business to start with 23 years ago. And I worked for him for like 5 or 6 years prior. And he was just not a real good businessman by the time I came on the scene. So I ended up buying him out, and that was 23 years ago. He died a year later, so we didn't really get to see the growth, but I started with 7 people. I now have 62. I remember my 2nd year in business, I was thrilled when I hit $1 million in revenue, and I'm at 9 million last year, and I am heading for 11 million this year.
Excellent, that's incredible. Hiver, what about you? How did you get started in the industry? How long has Chromatic been in existence? And
yeah, so I started out as a barista in 2006, worked my way through pretty much the entire industry, a lot of positions, and so that's been about 16 years.
Wow.
I've been in coffee, and Chromatic is going to be 10 years old this year. I've been working on the project for at least 10 years at this point. And in terms of size, I was looking at the numbers, and we actually made a little over $2 million last year
Amazing.
in revenue. And currently staff with working owners included is 24 people.
That's great. And George, I'm going to reframe the question for you because you're not, no judgments, of course, but you're not a CEO of a company. You're a coffee buyer, which is a title that I one day aspire to. But tell us about yourself. How did you get into the field of workforce development, and how long have you been working with all of us at SFMade and Manufacturer San Jose?
Absolutely. Thank you. You are a coffee buyer, and hopefully both of us one day will be making $1 million in a year. I've been working in workforce for about 5 years. Prior to that, I spent 17 years working in tech, actually very often helping businesses. I started with the Center for Employment Opportunities 5 years ago in Oakland, assisting the reentry population and getting connected to jobs. I learned through that job that job seekers are often defined as having barriers to employment, especially the reentry population. What I learned working with those individuals is that they don't have barriers to employment. Employers put up barriers to them getting hired. And I had been working with SFMade while I was at the Center for Employment Opportunities, connecting program participants to opportunities in manufacturing, some of them quite successfully. An opportunity arose to join the SFMade team 2 years ago. So I applied, got the job. I have a little bit more influence on the manufacturing sector now in an employer sector. And it's exciting because I get to help manufacturers understand what they can do to reach a broader audience for their jobs, retain those individuals, and be successful businesses here in the Bay Area. So I'm excited to be a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this morning. So George, I'm going to leave it with you. This is a question that I love asking every roundtable, and have been asking, I think, at every roundtable since we started doing this. Tell us a fun fact about you, your organization, or even in your case, some of the things around you.
Oh, geez, that could go a while. I've been a fun fact about me. I've been selling collectibles online for over 20 years. I've gotten pretty good at it too, to the point where I have friends and family calling me, asking me how much something is worth, or holding the phone up when they go to garage sales or estate sales and asking me if anything around there is worth buying. So it's been fun. It's been a side business this whole time. And if you're living in the Bay Area, you almost always need a side business to be able to afford it. Right. Yeah, that's just something personal about me that I think is pretty fun.
Awesome. Thank you. And for Sharon, same question for you. Tell us a fun fact about your company or yourself. Oh, Sharon, you're muted. Sharon, you're still muted. There you go.
So when my dad had the business, we actually made fish tanks. And the very last movie that Sean Connery was in as James Bond was Diamonds Are Forever with Jill St. John. And we made the waterbed in one of those scenes. And it's a waterbed. And after the movie, Jill St. John wanted the bed put into her home, and everybody fought who got to go down there and take it apart of the studio and put it up in her house. I didn't get to go, but my dad and the foreman went. I didn't get to go though, but it's on my website too. I have the bed on my website.
That's amazing. And Hiver, the last response goes to you.
Yeah, so fun fact about Chromatic. There's so many interesting, weird little topics I could cover, but I'll name a couple. Is just The Chromatic logo, we've been very much influenced by like San Jose and the sign painters in San Jose. So we hearken to a lot of the really amazing signs that are all around the city. And you do kind of have to look for them a little bit. It's not like Vegas or anything like that, but the ones that are up are really unique and really special. But that aside, we are very much like proudly San Jose residents. Like we do love manufacturing. Most of what we do is still like very DIY in-house. Like we have gotten better up to like machine manufacturing. So that's really great. But all of our bags are hand stamped, designed by hand. I still do a lot of the designs. I typically try to drink the coffee that I'm designing for to kind of like allow for some of that heart and soul to transmute through the product. And yeah, like we're very, very hands-on. We're there pretty much every day with everybody else. So it's been fun. It's a very creative space, and we're all creative people, and we very much enjoy it that way.
Yeah, having been there more than a few times, I do enjoy every moment I'm there.
You don't have a picture of your logo?
I don't, not right now, but I can figure out how, oh, here, hold on.
Oh, cool.
It's very like 1940s streamline, post-war kind of influence with a little bit of like 50s Americana and a little bit of comic book stuff in there.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's I was gonna say I could run into my kitchen and grab the same sign. I almost did.
I have some of those tin signs too. Yeah, this is the original screen print. I screen printed this one actually.
That's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of in-house stuff.
So moving on to something a little more serious. So the first, I think the most important factor in my view, and certainly this is an opportunity for all of you to correct me if you think I'm wrong, is developing strong cultures, vibrant cultures within your companies. So what steps have you taken to ensure a positive culture in your companies? We'll start with you, Hiver.
So being the founder and being present, there's been a lot of preservation of the values that we started the company with. So, and I haven't had many culture shifts, but a few generations, and like, of course, the baristas that have been around the longest, they start to move up. But, you know, I had the pleasure to speak with Sharon as well yesterday a little bit. And I was very much inspired by a lot of what she was saying, and I was able to implement some of the things immediately by talking to my closest team, which would be my roasters and quality assurance people. So the cuppers, the people that are like taking all of these sensorial experiences and trying to quantify and communicate and translate and decimate throughout the company, the rest of the company. But definitely opportunities for moving up, becoming craftspeople in a field that demands a lot of attention to detail. Of course, I with my direct team, listen a lot. I ask for feedback, what I could be doing better for them, how best I can support them. I try to figure out who the individual is and what they excel at, and put them in those positions, as opposed to trying to force them into a box. Because everybody wears a lot of little hats, and has kind of like these mixed skill sets. So I do believe that one of the benefits of how we've structured is that we allow for a lot of flexibility, and we allow for them to manage their time most of the time. Barista is a little bit different because you have to serve the customer, and so there's a structure. But just empowering them in that sense, listening to what they want, asking them what they want to contribute themselves and where they want to see themselves go. And we've gotten better and better and better at doing that. Since none of us have ever started off as business people, we learned the ropes as we went through. But right now I'm very happy with the company culture. I'm very happy with the participation rate and how many ideas they have on their own and come to me. And even yesterday, like one of my roasters was just like, I'm thinking of getting into marketing and stuff like that. And I was just like, oh my goodness, that's wonderful, because I would love to take that off my plate. And they had some really, really good ideas. So it's nice to see that it's generative. Yeah.
Now I'm muted. Sharon, what about you? What steps have you taken within your company to develop and foster the development of a vibrant culture?
Well, I think in the past, that's always been important to me. That's just who I am as a person, is to value and recognize people that you have working for you, because that's number one. And really in the last 2 or 3 years, I've really focused more on structurally making that happen. And that's with the one-to-ones we have with all of our employees, the strength interviews we have, rather than focusing on weaknesses. We really focus on their strengths and what it is they want to do for their life. And then we work on that. In fact, that has been so successful. I can right off the bat, I know of 5 employees on my receiving guy that went into purchasing, because these are the things that he said he wanted to do. My shipping went into assembly and is now my lead. And one of my shop helpers is now my supervisor for fabrication. I mean, it's because you grow them. They tell you what it is they want and what interests them. And then you grow that. So the training, I have a classroom built here. I'm not that big, but I have a full classroom here with computers, and I pay 2 hours a week for my employees to do training of whatever they want, webinars. So many of my CNC guys want to learn programming. I'm going to be overwhelmed with programmers. That's okay. So I allow that time. They go in there and I pay for any kind of training, outside training. I'll pay for that for them. So the training is really, really important, because what I have found is that really everybody just wants to contribute and feel important and feel valued. And when you have the culture like that, everybody loves coming to work and it's fun. So this is the kind of fun environment where we're all working towards something, same goal, but we're having such a good time doing it because we all recognize the goal and how it's benefiting all of us.
And Sharon, just sticking with you for a second to follow up. So I love that you're having these conversations with your staff, especially, where it's not even necessarily sort of driven by sort of your needs as the CEO. It's, asking them for what they want, even, outside of your organization. But what types of follow-up happen after those initial conversations?
So after the probation period of any employee, that's when we have the strength interview, and it's one of the 3 managers and myself. So there's 4 of us to do this. And we have the interview. It's about a page and a half, and we can choose the questions, but pretty consistent. There's some that we always ask, like, did you have a mentor in your life? And how was that like? And what are your successes? And what are your failures? What do you consider failures? What are your dreams? What do you want for your life? Where do you see yourself in this company? All these questions like that. And it's amazing because we started out with, when we did this is about 1.5 years ago, we had to go back to our existing employees. And it was amazing how many employees have worked for me for so long. And we didn't know all this. Yeah. All these things came out because when you give someone the opportunity to communicate and talk about themselves, it just opens up. Right. Which makes it all the better everywhere. So after the initial interview, I put it onto a spreadsheet and I give it to my HR. Now I just give it to her. I hired a person specifically to follow up on these. And it's up to the employee on how often they want to talk. 30 days, every 60 days, quarterly. It's kind of up to them and their own comfort level. And we put that down. And the HR, I hired a HR person just to do that. I already have one, and I hired her just for the training and the follow-up. And the cost of having that one position is so overrides all of the benefits gotten from the employees who are heard and are moved, and we do things based on what they asked for.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. George, turning it to you, I'd actually written a note for myself to ask you what are the 7 habits of highly effective cultures, but I didn't want to steal the title in any way. But in your experience working with other manufacturers, both in San Francisco, San Jose, and the East Bay, what are some of the most common themes that you see for companies that are looking to create vibrant cultures within their organizations?
When you say most common themes, do you mean like what the outcomes that they're wanting, or do you mean the challenges?
No, not challenges yet, but what steps do you see being taken that are most effective in developing strong cultures?
It's really the owners or whoever is doing HR being reflective and understanding that doing something positive or something different is going to have a lasting effect on the current employees and who they bring on in the future. So it's more of a internal decision. Oh, I realize that perhaps we're not doing this in the best way we possibly can. I need to start taking steps to make a change. And it's not just that, but also that reflective aspect of, I realize that I might be, part of the problem. Like I might be hemorrhaging employees because there's something that I've done in my internal workings that doesn't work out for people that I'm bringing on, or my staff is unhappy because of maybe something I do or the way I communicate. So that's the biggest part that I see when people start reflecting and understanding that there's something they can do to make things better, and then they start taking small steps to do that. Sally just mentioned, I think I heard you right, that you said you've been doing this current program internally for about 1.5 years. And that's the type of thing I'd love to tell other manufacturers, that, you have over 50 employees. Your retention is probably wonderful, but you still took steps to do things to recognize and hear the people that you work with. That's a big deal. And I think if other people hear that a company that's been around as long as yours has can take those steps to make that change, that they can do it too.
Yeah, thanks, George. And so going to Hiver, beyond creating a strong culture within your company, what other steps do you take to help foster an environment where employees ultimately choose to stay with you? Especially in the field of coffee, where it's not, coffee is not traditionally a high wage field. So certainly there are other things that you've been able to do.
Yeah, we've had, of course, the pandemic changed a few things, but we typically have had really great employee retention. Of course, state of economy right now, some people have felt a little bit like more of a need to leave, but we have had a lot of return employees where they go out into the world venture and they're like, I don't like this, and they come back and I think we pay some of the highest prices. I mean, yeah, some of the highest wages of any of the independent coffee shops in the area. And tips are good. But as far as like what we do internally, coffee being a really interesting industry, it's so much of it is based on flavor, something that's very hard to quantify. But we try to get everybody to join us at the cupping table, and the cupping table being where we do evaluations and assessment on quality on coffee. And my closest team and I were like, we score everything. We're like very regimented in how we process this. But then we pull baristas off the bar to have them come to the back and do cuppings with us. And typically they're blind cupping, so they can't see what the coffee is. ask them what they taste, teach them how to use the score sheets. And these are all like higher level industry type of actions and behaviors. So it really helps them with gaining that sense and understanding where they can break it down and understand how to best brew it. And sometimes there's really, really amazing coffees that never make it to the public, but we get the opportunity to have them. So it's always fun to have something special and unique as such. And then, you know, I've been doing this for so long. I participate in a lot of auctions where, you know, I've paid up to $100 a pound for certain coffees. Just very competitive, very intense. But I am also a judge for a lot of these competitions. And for some of my staff, my closest staff, I have been able to get them added on to that that team of cuppers, and having their name on that ledger essentially qualifies them to judge in future events where they could even potentially be invited to go cup coffees as an international judge. So it gives them the opportunity to go travel, have essentially an all expenses paid trip. So just giving them the tools and the skills of these, like, it's hard to get education for it. So you have to be trained from within the industry. So those opportunities are really, really big, because if they start performing well, I can see, I can support them like financially and getting certain certificates or things like that, which would make them better workers, which would yield them a higher wage because they add more and more value to how we run our operation and maintain like quality standards. But yeah, just getting everybody to drink coffee and kind of have a moment where they can relax, and still doing work, but they get to like be active and participant in the process of like what it looks like to buy coffee, what it looks like to develop roast profiles, what it looks like to redesign those profiles and get it to where we want, and like learn what an underdeveloped roast is, overdeveloped, like how to gauge and control and the machinery and the equipment. And anybody who expresses interest, we try to get them moved into that direction a little bit if the positions are available, of course. But yeah, just drinking lots of coffee. Good perk of the job.
And that brings up a couple of things. There was a brewery that we've worked with. One of my, actually probably my favorite thing that they did consistently was whenever they had a new release in the works, they would actually have a tasting session with their teams and not just, you know, their sales reps, but, you know, taproom staff and production assistants, you know, top to bottom marketing people. And they would ask them, you know, what they liked about it, if there was anything they didn't like about it, and that information. So the sales reps were there, so they could use that information to then present those new releases to distributors. But it made for excellent team building exercises, and you know, it kind of helps bring everybody together with a thing that they love, and essentially what brought them to the company to begin with. What I like particularly about yours is being much more of a coffee guy than a beer guy, and having experienced the cupping sessions, there's really nothing quite like it.
Yeah, it's a wonderful experience, it really is. With the spoons and everything, very loud.
Yeah,
a lot of laughter. It's a very joyous kind of event. Usually we like, for the professional stuff, we're very quiet and we don't discuss, but more casually, it's always fun.
Yeah, I do remember the last time I experienced the sort of cupping experience with you. I really I was a little shy in my slurping. I couldn't do it. It was very challenging. I want to stick with you just to follow up as well, because again, coffee is a little bit different than you know, fabrication or machining, where, you know, you do have a segment that will probably never be more than baristas. You know, they might come just because they love your coffee, but are really just looking for something, you know, part-time to, you know, supplement their income or something like that, or you know, they're younger and you know, really just looking for a place to start. But how often do you see, and if you were to look at your staff now, how many of them can you see staying in coffee as a career beyond, you know, the next couple of years and even beyond Chromatic?
So let's see, out of the 24 employees, I would say about 8 to 10 will stay in coffee for pretty much the rest of their lives, myself included in that metric. It's yeah, it is hard because it's one of those things where you see people coming back to this industry, even though sometimes they go to other ones, because, and what you'll see consistently in the coffee industry is a lot of love and a lot of passion and a lot of drive. And sometimes that emotional desire to move forward in that direction because of just the pure sheer love of wanting to try to understand this agricultural product that, like, it's taken us years to even begin to scratch the surface of what it is. Yeah, so it's rare that you find like the career barista. That's a very rare individual.
Right.
I can't say with confidence that I quite have that person yet. But a lot of the baristas that I had that were excelling for 2-3 years, they usually get to a point where like they want to do more, they want to learn more, they want to be on the back end of things. But that's one of the problems, is that every rung you move up, it's a pyramid. Like, you pretty much, like, for every roaster you can have dozens if not hundreds of baristas. And then for the type of segments we have the baristas, we have the production people, which are the ones that are like filling the bags and shipping the coffee out and delivering it and doing all the logistical work, the very important like distribution, like everything that is like actually creating the product. And then you have the production roasters, and that's where like the R&D and a lot of that exists. So once you get to that level, it starts to dwindle a little bit. But even employees that have moved on to pursue like higher levels in coffee, they've it's almost like they go out for a year or two, get a lot of training, and then come back and be like, I want to be back in this environment because I really like these people and I enjoy existing here. And then, was part of that question the benefits thing?
Well, that's actually a good segue into, you know, what other benefits beyond, you know, team building and coffee slurping do you offer your employees?
Aside from pretty much unlimited supplies of coffee that you're allowed to take home or gift to your family or whatever that is, that's like the bare minimum. Of course, in my opinion, it's like, yeah, take coffee, please. There's too much around here anyway. We finally were able to introduce pretty much a full benefits package that many of the full-time employees have been able to take advantage of. So that's health, vision, dental. We've done it through ADP because we're still pretty small, so we don't have an HR department. So they handle a lot of that aspect of it. And yeah, there's also, if there's trade shows, of course, that's been hindered due to COVID, but trade shows or stuff like that, if you want to go and you want to work it, like we'll get you sent over there. And like this year or next month, it's in Boston. So I will be going to Boston myself, which is going to be great. I haven't been to Boston in years, so it's going to be fun. There has been trade shows there before. Usually it's in Seattle or other well-known coffee towns. So I think that's what we're most proud of, is just being able to offer like dental, vision, health, 401k, and a good amount of them have taken advantage of that. And it's really nice to know that we have people that are insured.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks.
Yeah.
And Sharon, to you, what other benefits do you offer your employees?
Well, I have full medical, dental, vision. I cover 100%. And I just changed everything last year from, I used to give just a week vacation. Now I give 2 weeks vacation for the minute they start. It starts accumulating that. Of course, the sick, I added an extra sick day. And I just added, I went out to dinner. I crashed a dinner my daughter had with one of my employees. That's one of her directs. And I just showed up and I learned so much. And some of the things I got from just talking to him, sitting there, was on the Super Bowl Mondays, we get like 40 or 45% people calling in sick.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, so I thought, why fight this? So I actually made that at the next crew meeting. I made that a holiday. So that is now one of our peak holidays, because why fight it, right? So things like that. But I just wanted to go back on your previous, you were talking about the other things that we do to make culture really strong here. Is one of the things I did, we did this before. We have not done this as consistently since the pandemic. We're just getting back into it. But I have 5 departments here, and I have one person from every department and get together with a $500 budget, and they plan and they cook a meal, a lunch, once a month for the entire crew. And that means that they have to get together on their own, coordinate together, decide what they're going to make. And it's been so fun because they all start to get these beach themes, or, you know, Jamaica themes, or taco themes, or trying to outdo each other. And it's just a whole bunch of fun. And it gets all 5 departments kind of talking to each other, understanding what each one does. Because it's real easy to think, well, they don't do as much as I do, you know, and isolate like that. And this really is great. And then I also do the Christmas and the, you know, the barbecues in the summer. So all the families can really get to know each other.
Yeah.
Really get to know each other. It just makes working together so much more fun.
Yeah. And so Sharon, thank you for that. And speaking with you, you know, obviously, it almost goes without saying that there's no clean path to this, that there are bumps and hurdles that sort of happen along the way as you're taking these steps. So what are some of the challenges that you've had in developing these strategies, and how have you been able to overcome them?
I think one of the biggest challenges has been, you know, I have my core values and we do everything by that. But, you know, it's easy to have core values and not take them seriously. Right. But we have really taken them seriously. I mean, it infuses everything we do here. And the most difficult thing has been when somebody, an employee, has this terrific skill level and you need them so much for what they're giving. And, but you work on all these other things culturally, and they're just not coming up to speed with that. So it's a very difficult thing, and you try to bring them in and do that, you know, but sometimes it's just not that way. So that's really difficult, and this is why now we do yearly, we do an A list, B list, which is like employees that are almost A players, almost. So what can we do to make them into A players? And then you have your C players, and then you have your bottom ones that you're just not quite sure about. And I think that you have to always keep doing that, kind of looking at that, because otherwise the credibility as managers and as the owner lessens, right? No credibility anymore. And you're allowing people who are not demonstrating the core values and adding to the culture, you're no matter how skilled they are, if they don't have those other things, doesn't matter. That was a hard challenge.
Yeah, thank you. And Hiver, the same question for you. What challenges have you experienced in the development of your internal culture, and how have you been able to overcome them?
Well, so I've always thought of Chromatic as like my first baby. And now I have an actual human baby, a 3-year-old. But I think a lot of it is the realization that what I've learned more recently with the human child is these first years, they really feel more like reparenting yourself more than parenting another person. And not that I'm trying to like fully equate running a business to like parenthood, but there are some parallels. And a lot of it is finding out like what it is that I value that I used to establish this company, and to communicate that with each and every one of them directly as well, to have them understand like I am a human person. I am not a corporate entity. This is what I believe in. This is what I.
Okay, Hiver. Is anyone else having trouble hearing you there? Hiver, we lost your audio. Can't hear you.
Be nice when you do this live.
Is any
There we go.
better now?
You're
Okay.
a little max headroomy, but you're better.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Cool. What was I saying?
So you were talking about reparenting.
Oh, yeah. So a lot of it is that aspect of direct communication with each and every individual in the company. Reminding them the values that I have, that I bring to the table, the things that inspired me to start the company from the get-go, which was always working directly with producers, paying them really excellent prices, like where the shift of like the more social aspect is, and like how that really influences and affects like every aspect of trade and negotiation and what it may be. So a lot of it is just like restructuring myself to communicate to them, to hopefully help inspire them to see like, hey, like these are people that really care about what they're doing, and they prioritize quality, they prioritize fairness. And of course we're a business, so we're trying to make money, but I never set out with the goal to make money. I set out with the goal to make amazing coffee and have people that were proud to serve the coffee that we had through really cool equipment in cool spaces, and really like bring and share that story. So I believe that one of the main things we do is we actually sell stories with coffee as the receipt. It's the token of the real value of that product, which is the people behind who produced it. And as manufacturers, like we take a lot of pride in that aspect, and we are manufacturers in a different way because it's a food product.
Right.
But yeah, we are makers, and that's how we present ourselves, and we get our hands dirty, and that's what we want people to understand. It's like we are here very much physically in this space, and when you come to us, like everything happens under that roof. There's no outsourcing. There's barely any outsourcing, unless it's like almost impossible to do it.
Yeah. Thank you, Hiver. So we just have a few minutes left. I wanted to, George, do I still have you? Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. I lost you when I couldn't see your face. So the last question I'm going to kind of give to you, and that's In your experience, what other challenges have companies experienced in fostering strong cultures within their organizations, and how have they been able to overcome them?
I think the biggest challenge is just deciding to do it.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of or I shouldn't say it. Let me rephrase it. Company culture is great, but you need to adapt. You have to. If you stay stagnant in your thoughts of what your company culture is, it's eventually going to fall apart. And I think that's one of the things that's important for businesses to understand. Keep your finger on the pulse. Meet and speak with your staff. Understand their needs. What I'm hearing from Sharon and from Hiver is incredible as far as having things be staff informed, empowering your employees to speak about what their needs are and what their desires are. When you do those things, your culture is naturally going to adapt, because you're being informed by the people who are working for you. What was the second part of the question, Michael?
The sort of challenges and how the companies that you've worked with and in your advising experience, how have you advised companies on ways to overcome some of the challenges that they've run into?
There's a part of me that wants to say I should ask Sharon and Hiver to come speak with me to companies from here on out. I mean, you're what I've said to companies is what you're doing. Any other manufacturers or businesses that are on this call, the advice and the paths that these two companies have taken are you couldn't go wrong. They're doing the things that need to be done, and being considerate of their employees and being empathetic of their employees' needs. It's not ignoring what's going on. It's meeting the challenge and working through it. So I'm just blown away hearing the both of you speak about how you run your companies, and I'm excited to hopefully work with the two of you and kind of further what we're doing and the output that we're bringing to other manufacturers in the Bay Area.
Yeah. Thanks, George. So we have just a couple of minutes. Are there any questions from the audience? Okay. Well, I would like to thank George, Sharon, and Hiver for being such a fantastic panel this morning. I would also like to thank our sponsor, Moss Adams, for helping us put together this event. And of course, to the SFMade and Manufacture San Jose team, Phil Lonsdale, my right-hand compatriot, Sue Sigler, and I see Linda Becker here as well. So thank you all for joining us. The recording of this will be shared shortly, so keep on the lookout for that. And I look forward to seeing you all again very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of the day.